The sound of roaring engines fades as a group of rough, leather-clad bikers park outside a roadside diner. They laugh, joke, and look every bit like trouble until a tiny, trembling voice breaks the noise. A little girl, barefoot and covered in dust, sprints toward them, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Please, please help my mom. They're hurting her," she cries. The laughter stops. Every biker freezes. For a moment, the world goes silent. Then their leader Hawk slowly stands up, his expression hardening. "Show us," he says. And in that instant, no one could have guessed how this single act of courage would change all their lives forever. The sun blazed over a lonely highway diner, a small weathered place surrounded by endless fields and dust. Inside, a group of bikers had just pulled in from a long ride. Their engines had silenced, but their laughter filled the air. Leather jackets, tattoos, and heavy boots made them look like trouble to anyone passing by. They sat around metal tables, eating burgers, teasing each other, and sharing road stories. To the world, they were outlaws, but to each other, they were brothers. Then, out of nowhere, a faint cry pierced through the hum of conversation. "Help, please!" Everyone turned. From across the road, a little girl, no more than 8 years old, was running barefoot toward them. Her small face was streaked with tears and dirt, her hair tangled and blowing wildly in the wind. She tripped once, scraping her knee, but she didn't stop. She stumbled right up to the bikers, gasping for breath. "Please, please help my mom," she cried, voice trembling. "He's hurting her." For a long moment, nobody moved. The whole diner went silent. Forks froze, midair, music cut out. Even the air seemed to hold still. The biggest biker among them, a man called Hawk, slowly stood up. His beard was grizzled, his arms thick with scars and ink. People usually looked away when his cold blue eyes met theirs. But now, there was something different in them, something soft. "Where is she?" he asked gently. The girl pointed shakily toward the dirt road leading into the woods. "Back there, in the house, by the trees." "Please, hurry." Someone from the diner muttered, "Leave it alone, man. Not your problem." But Hawk didn't even look back. He dropped his half-eaten burger, pulled on his gloves, and nodded to his crew. "Let's go," he said. The girl's eyes widened in disbelief as every single biker stood up without hesitation, without question. In that moment, the laughter, the noise, the stereotypes all vanished. What remained were men ready to do something right. Engines roared back to life. Tires screeched on gravel, and the girl climbed onto Hawk's bike still shaking, but now holding on to the one thing she hadn't felt in a long time: hope. The engines thundered to life, echoing across the empty highway like a storm rolling in. Dust rose behind the roaring bikes as Hawk and his crew followed the little girl's desperate lead. She sat on the back of Hawk's bike, clutching his leather jacket, her tiny hands trembling but determined. The wind whipped through her hair as the world blurred around her. Every few seconds, she'd point ahead, shouting over the roar, "Down that road. Keep going." Hawk leaned forward, eyes locked on the horizon. His crew, 6 men who once lived on the edge of the road close behind. None of them spoke, but each one felt the same fire burning in their chests. They didn't know what they were riding into. They didn't care. A child had asked for help, and that was all that mattered. People along the roadside stopped what they were doing. Old men on porches, gas station clerks, mothers holding toddlers all stared in disbelief. As the feared biker gang thundered through town with a crying girl leading them, whispers spread quickly. "Did you see that? They're helping her. Those bikers." But the men didn't notice. The only sound they cared about was the engines and the girl's shaking voice guiding them closer to danger. After 10 long minutes, the asphalt turned to gravel, and the path narrowed into a lonely dirt trail surrounded by overgrown weeds. The smell of smoke drifted faintly in the air. The girl cried, pointing ahead. Through the trees stood a small, run-down shack, its windows cracked, its roof sagging under years of neglect. But what caught Hawk's attention wasn't the house, it was the sound, yelling, a woman's scream, the crash of something breaking inside. Hawk slammed the brakes, gravel spraying beneath his tires. The engines quieted, replaced by the raw sound of violence echoing from inside that shack. The girl slid off the bike, shaking uncontrollably. Hawk crouched beside her. "Stay here, sweetheart," he said softly. "We'll handle it." Then he stood, his leather jacket creaking, as he motioned to his crew. No words needed, no plan required. They had faced many battles before, but this one was for something far greater than themselves. The camera fades out as the bikers walk toward the shack, shadows stretching in the sunlight, their faces hard with purpose. The shack's door rattled from the noise inside, shouts, a woman's terrified pleas, and the heavy crash of furniture. The bikers exchanged glances, their faces set like stone. Hawk stepped forward first, boots crunching over the gravel. With one swift kick, the wooden door burst open, slamming against the wall. Inside, chaos. A man reeking of alcohol was dragging a woman by her hair, yelling curses. Broken glass glimmered on the floor. The woman's cheek was bruised, her hands bleeding as she tried to shield herself. The man froze when he saw them. 7 towering figures in leather and steel, their shadows filling the doorway. "What the hell, who are you people?" He spat, stumbling backward. Hawk's voice was calm but heavy with authority. "Let her go," the man sneered, puffing out his chest. "You don't tell me what to do in my own house." He tightened his grip on the woman's arm. She whimpered. The air grew still. One of the bikers took a step forward, his fist tightening, but Hawk lifted a hand, stopping him. He walked closer, slow and steady, until he stood just a few feet away. The light from the doorway hit the chain around Hawk's neck, revealing a worn military dog tag. "Let her go." His tone didn't rise, but it cut through the room. Like a blade, the man's eyes flickered between the group, their stance, their scars, the unspoken rage simmering beneath their silence. He saw something in Hawk's eyes that made his arrogance fade into fear. Finally, his hand dropped. The woman stumbled free, collapsing onto the floor, clutching her ribs. The little girl, standing at the doorway, screamed, "Mom," and ran to her, tears streaming down her face. Hawk crouched beside them, his voice soft now. "You're safe. He won't touch you again." The man stood, trembling in the corner, too stunned to move. Hawk turned to him, his tone low and final. "If I ever hear you raise a hand to them again, we'll be back, and you won't like the second visit. No threats, no violence, just truth." As Hawk helped the woman to her feet, the bikers silently began restoring, turning a place of pain into one of protection. For the first time in years, that house felt safe. The chaos had finally gone quiet. Only the soft hum of the evening wind filled the broken shack now. The bikers stood among the shattered glass and overturned furniture, no longer warriors, but protectors. The woman sat on a worn-out couch, her little girl clinging tightly to her side. Hawk knelt down, speaking gently, his rough voice softened by concern. "You're safe now, ma'am. He won't bother you again," he said, handing her a bottle of water from his bike pack. She looked up, tears glistening in her eyes. Why did you help us?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Hawk paused for a moment, then gave a small smile. "Because once, someone helped me when I didn't deserve it," he said, "and I never forgot." The other bikers moved quietly around the small home. One fixed the door that had been kicked open. Another picked up shattered dishes and swept the floor. A third went back to his motorcycle and returned with a plastic bag of food sandwiches, fruit, and a thermos of water. The mother's eyes widened in disbelief. People usually crossed the street to avoid these men, but here they were kneeling on her floor, cleaning up her broken life. The little girl tugged on Hawk's vest. "Mister, are you angels?" The room went silent for a beat. Hawk chuckled softly, shaking his head. "No, sweetheart, just bikers trying to do some good." A few neighbors, drawn by the noise, began to gather outside the gate. They whispered in shock, seeing the local troublemakers comforting a child and repairing a home. One older woman murmured, "Never thought I'd see the day." Hawk turned to his crew. "All right, boys, let's wrap it up." Before leaving, he took off his leather jacket and gently draped it over the little girl's shoulders. The heavy black leather nearly swallowed her tiny frame. "Keep this," he said quietly. "It means you've got friends on the road now." The mother covered her mouth, tears spilling freely. "Thank you," she whispered. Hawk nodded once, the faintest smile crossing his face. "Don't thank us, just stay safe." And with that, the bikers walked out into the fading sunset, leaving behind not just a fixed door, but a mended heart. The last rays of sunlight stretched across the dirt road, painting everything in gold. The air was still, except for the distant sound of crickets and the low rumble of engines warming up again. The bikers stood outside the small shack, their shadows long against the earth. The little girl and her mother watched from the porch, silent, holding each other close. The smell of dust and gasoline mixed with the faint scent of home-cooked food, drifting from a neighbor's kitchen. Hawk slipped his gloves back on, his gaze fixed on the horizon. One by one, his crew rolled their bikes forward, the sound of engines, deep and steady, like a heartbeat in the quiet evening. The little girl ran down the porch steps, clutching the oversized leather jacket around her shoulders. "Wait," she cried. Hawk turned, lowering his sunglasses just enough for their eyes to meet. She ran up to him, breathless, and held out something small in her hand, a tiny silver hair clip shaped like a butterfly. "This is my favorite," she said softly. "For you? So you remember me." For a moment, Hawk didn't speak. He just looked at her, then slowly took the clip, closing his massive hand around it like it was something sacred. He crouched down, his voice barely above a whisper. "I won't forget you, kid." Behind them, the other bikers smiled faintly, rough faces softened by something unspoken. The mother stepped forward, her eyes still red from tears. "You didn't just save us," she said quietly. "You gave us back hope." Hawk nodded once, then swung his leg over the bike. The engines revved, louder now, echoing through the valley like thunder rolling away. The girl waved with both hands, yelling, "Bye, bye, Mr. Hawk." As the bikes pulled onto the open road, the wind caught her hair, the leather jacket flapping around her like a cape. She kept waving until the roar faded into the distance, until the last glint of chrome disappeared behind the trees. Then she looked down at the dust-covered ground, whispering to herself, "They're good guys, real good guys." The sun dipped below the horizon. The road stretched on, endless and quiet, carrying 7 riders into the fading light. leaving behind the echo of kindness carved into the wind.